A prominent supporter of the Russian so-called war against the Ukrainian Nazi was reportedly murdered by the Russian Nazi in the Russia-occupied Donetsk. 64-year-old Russell Bentley, call-sign Texas, convicted American drug smuggler who came to the Russia-occupied Donbass in 2014 to help Russian terrorists in their hybrid war against Ukraine, was fighting for the terrorist groups Han and Vostok. And just like Patrick Lancaster, he married a local Ukrainian woman and settled in Donetsk. I cannot blame him for that, because Ukrainian women are considered really attractive. And over time, he became a Russian propagandist and even obtained a Russian citizenship. Just a couple of weeks ago, on 8th of April 2024, according to his wife, Russell got detained by the Russian terrorists from the gang called 5th Armored Brigade. It happened in Petrovsky district of Donetsk, controlled by the Russian terrorists since 2014. According to the Russian propagandist Margarita Simonyan, Russell Bentley was killed in Donetsk. The terrorist group Vostok also confirmed his death, which of course means he wasn't killed in the attack, but rather murdered by his own Russian comrades. There are gossips that Russell Bentley was raped and decapitated, which we cannot prove. But at the same time, the Russian sources reported that the American citizen was beaten to death by the Russian officers, apparently heavily intoxicated, which to me sounds more plausible considering they were Russian tankers. Now, this raises a question: was his death a tragic misfortune or a planned elimination? Because there were already tens, if not hundreds, of cases of Russians assassinating their allies or supporters, or even top-ranked Russian generals and terrorist leaders. You know, the Russians have this saying, «Родина тебя бросит, сынок, всегда», which means the motherland will leave you behind, son, always. To me, as a communication specialist, the very fact the top Russian propagandists were talking about this murder proves that the prominent pro-Russian supporter Russell Bentley was not planned to be assassinated yet. And whatever happened to him in Donetsk seems like a traditional Russian mishap. But here I have a long list of influential Russians who mysteriously died since the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, like, for example, Yevgeny Prigozhin, chief of the Russian terrorist group PMC Wagner, killed in his plane by the Russian air defense. Some of them are still alive but neutralized, like Igor Girkin, another former top Russian war leader who brought Russian troops to Crimea and Donbass in 2014 and organized a coup in both regions. Because Russia is a totalitarian state, they tend to neutralize people who know too much, regardless of their status or titles, and eventually everyone related to the Russian war crimes will most probably get eliminated by the FSB, including some of the most prominent Russian citizens, as well as their foreign supporters who obtained sensitive information. The useful idiots like David Sachs or Jackson Hinkle will survive, though. Tucker Carlson will most probably too. However, who knows? But the fact is, if you support Russian terrorists, there's a high chance you will end up like Russell Bentley, or Yevgeny Prigozhin, or Sergei Girkin, or Pavel Dremov, Alexei Mozgovoi, Yevgeny Ishchenko, Pavel Slobodchikov, and many other prominent Russian terrorists and pro-Russian collaborationists who knew too much. With that, my friends, I wish you all a beautiful day. I'm Operator Starsky. As always, be safe.